Morning you guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would come and do a review on this concealer, this new concealer by Urban Decay. I don't often do concealer and foundation type videos because I feel like I can't live up to the high standard that is out there on YouTube of kind of, you know, this is how it fared through the day, and I can't continuously film it. But I thought I would come and give you, I guess, a first impressions review. I've used it about 4 or 5 times now, but I'm also giving you a cheaper alternative because obviously it's quite expensive. So I'm going to show you me applying this one. I've got this one on this eye here, and I'm going to show you me applying this one, both with a little a mini beauty blender, and see what we think. Let's see. I've had this on for a couple of hours now, see if there's any difference just now. So you can see I've still got these bags. It was never going to cover those though, was it? But I don't actually think it looks that much different. I think there's maybe a bit more coverage on this side because I do think the Urban Decay one has more coverage. So I'm going to show you me applying them, and I'm going to tell you what the claims are and tell you what the prices are, and then you can decide for yourself which one you want. The first thing I noticed about this Stay Naked is it feels more like a foundation bottle. It's got 16 ml of concealer in it. This one has got 6 grams or 6 ml, but it just feels like too bulky for a concealer. You guys have heard me say before, I like small things, I like tiny things, and maybe some of you are like, oh no, that's great because it's got a lot more in it, but it is expensive. It's £28 for this. This other one, this Revolution one I'm talking about, is I think £6.99. I put it on the screen anyway. I just checked it there, so I don't have to put it on the screen. It is £6.99 versus £28, so there's not as much in this one, but like I said, this one is just, it's quite bulky. So there is a brush that comes on this. This is a doe foot type applicator, but it's big. It's just so big. And then at the end, you can see there is a brush, and I was like, oh, curious. Now you can see that I've actually used it. Can you see that I've used some product on there? It feels not too bad on my hand there, but oh, it's so spiky. There's no way I would use this. It's actually nicer if you do want to use a brush. It's nicer with this if you do it like that. That feels fairly soft. But see, the minute you do that, which is what they're telling you, there's no way I would be using that. It's just, this is Buffett, you know, like this. Ow, no, that's just too spiky. So that brush to me is pointless. The number of colours are, I think there's about 18 colours with this Urban Decay one. There's about 30, I think, in this. There's more colours in the Revolution one. I bought colour 20NN, so let me show you what it's like. That's what it's like. And then this one I bought C3. I actually bought C2 as well, and then went and got C3 because I thought it was too light. You can see that C3 is much more pinky. And that 20NN I've got is from Urban Decay is a lot more yellowy, but I don't think you can actually see the difference on my eyes, which is weird. So let me tell you what their claims are. Let me tell you what they're saying about this. They are saying, I need to put my glasses on, that it is, are you ready for a quick and easy coverage? Acne, dark circles, under eyes, hyperpigmentation. Our lightweight quickie multi-use concealer covers it all for 24 hours with a natural finish. That's the first thing I don't agree with. It's not a natural finish. I think it's got good coverage, but I wouldn't say that it's a natural finish. Where coverage meets convenience, it's fast, finger-free application means buildable coverage can be achieved wherever you go. Tap it on for targeted or all over usage, buff it in with the washable vegan brush, done. Waterproof, humidity resistant and transfer resistant. Buildable and blendable. All-day hydration, non-comedogenic, vegan formula, up to 24-hour long wear. I haven't ever needed to have a waterproof or humidity resistant concealer, I have to say. Certainly not for under my eyes, because it's not something I've ever found to wear off. What's more likely to have happened is it's kind of settled into lines, you know, and I haven't found that to be the case with this or the Revolution one. I don't know that it covers everything. I suppose it would. I find that normally the under eye concealers are too thin to cover really red marks. For example, I've got a red spot there, and I did try this morning to cover it, and it was just, it would have worked if I put some powder on top of it, but I just normally use usually normally use a mineral powder to cover any kind of blemishes or redness that I want to cover, and that seems to work better. So it depends on the level of what you want to cover. What else did it say? It builds and blends. It does. Buildable and blendable, yes. All day hydration. Yeah, it doesn't seem to, you know, it's not looking dry at all, either of them. Yeah, there's nothing else I can disagree with there other than it's not for me a fingerless application. Is that what they called it? Hands-free, finger-free application, because I would not want to use that brush, because I just think, like I said, you can do it like that, but that's not how you want to, that's not going to blend in your concealer, is it? You need to either use your finger like that or the little blender, mini blender that I used. And also I don't think that, what does it matter? Why does it need to be finger free? Because you're usually putting your concealer on and first thing in the morning, not necessarily something that you need to constantly be touching up, you know. So let me put the video in now of me applying these two, and then I'll come back to you and talk to you a little bit more about it. Okay, so you can see there the differences, hopefully. I'm amazed actually putting it on my hand there, how different those colours are there, but how, with me looking at you, and unless I haven't watched any of this footage back, I might watch it back and go, oh my goodness, my under eye is two completely different colours, but to me it doesn't look at all that different. So what I noticed when I first used this is, the first day I used it, I used way too much. It is very pigmented and you don't need to use an awful lot. So when you see me applying it today, that has me, I've tempered myself, you know, I've reduced the amount I use, because I actually did like a stripe and then blended it in, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is really high coverage. So that's the first thing that I noticed. I did have a look at it during the day to make sure that it hadn't like sunk into lines or anything like that. And it hadn't changed at all from when I put it on. But I did also notice, and more so when I put too much on, but that it does immediately highlight the crow's feet that I've got underneath my eyes. And that's kind of known, isn't it? We would all love to have a concealer that we could completely blank everything out under the eyes, but I think that a concealer is only going to make lines look worse. And I think in order for me to cover these dark circles that are here, well, there's not a circle, there's just a little arc there, I think I would need to do some sort of colour correction rather than just putting a concealer on. So I don't feel like it completely covers either of them, the dark circles, but I'm never looking for perfection, you know, just a bit of brightening and a bit of help covering up what's there. But yeah, I did notice that even with the reduced amount I used, I can still see that it highlights my lines. Then if I talk about this one, using this one on the left eye, it's not as full coverage, but it doesn't show up my lines as much. So I think I do actually have a couple more lines on this side. We'll get you closer so we can see. I think I've got a couple more crow's feet under here than I do on this side, but only minimally, if you know what I mean. But I think actually that when I put it on here, it doesn't highlight them as much, but that's because it's not as good coverage. It's not as full coverage. But the reason I'm talking about them both is because they actually feel the same going on. They both are buildable. They both are have about the same amount of time to blend. So it's not like it doesn't go on and instantly dry, but it doesn't take very long to dry down. It doesn't stay, I'm actually saying that these samples would tell you different, because if I go over that one's almost dry, but that one's still got a bit of wetness to it. But I think that's just because I put too much on there. But I feel like it's the perfect amount of blending time. You know, you can blend it in without there being little bits where there's too much product. But then you can, you know, put your powder on, you don't have to wait for it to dry. It's not like a creamy, tacky finish or anything like that. So I like that. And they both last exactly the same time throughout the day. They're both hydrating. I haven't noticed dryness under my eyes from either of them. I don't know whether if I had initially got dry under eyes, if either of these would have felt any different. But I just happened to have bought this concealer, and I thought, well, why don't I, you know, put them up against each other? And yeah, I don't really see that much difference, other than, like I said, this is not as full coverage. So I think if you are young and don't have lines, but you want to cover circles and, you know, darkness under your eyes, I think, like I said, the best thing is to colour correct. But if you really are wanting a heavy duty concealer under your eyes, this would be good. And I'm saying under your eyes, and it's telling you it's for everywhere. So you can probably use it. If I see they do contouring and everything now, I wouldn't have a clue what to do with that. But I think it's a pretty good concealer, but it's pretty heavy duty. Would it be good for acne? Probably with a powder on top, with a heavy duty powder on top. I think it would be okay, and it seems to last pretty well. This one I wouldn't use to cover acne, because it's just, like I said, it's not as full coverage as this. But this one I think would be better for you if, like me, you have some lines and you don't want or need as much coverage, you know. This is £6.99, this is £28. And I do really enjoy this, and I almost want to delay this review and use these both, you know, on each eye for the next 2 weeks, and then come back and tell you what I think. But I don't see that much changing, but I will talk about them in my empties. I'm going to use these two for the next little while, and yeah, report back to you. I look extremely bright in my video today. I'm not sure why. I'm going to have a bit of colour correction to do myself in the editing. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an idea about whether it's something you want to buy. Maybe you can try the Revolution one first and see what you think before going for the Quickie concealer. So that's everything. I will leave details of my makeup in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.